Hey guys, and welcome back to the Dev Dump podcast. Today we are joined by somebody new. Next program.
Hey,
Oh my gosh.
It's really him,
Guys,
guys.
it's been a while. It's been a while. So
Yeah.
yeah,
we had to get a guest. We had to get a special appearance.
Yeah,
I guess is
unfortunately,
not gone forever, but
Goodgis couldn't make it
it's gone
today,
for today.
but we have an industry veteran to take his place.
That's
yeah.
right.
Exactly.
I'm the improvement here.
So Jack,
Yeah.
what are we talking about today, man?
Our favorite games. Reece, start with you. What's your favorite game genre?
Your game genre?
Yeah.
Honestly, okay, are we thinking like indie or AAA? Because I feel like my answer kind of changes.
I mean, just like anything, I
I think-
guess.
Just all-time favorite.
Like indie games, I'm actually like really into indie games right now. You know, it gets me inspired and like motivated to create my own, obviously. So, for indie games, I honestly really like roguelite games.
Okay.
Just because I don't know, it's cool to kind of like have that procedural generation, and kind of like play through something like piece by piece. But it's got to be a really good roguelite because I think when like when the genre first came out, I don't know, like 8 years ago or whatever it was, it was like that was the pull was like, oh, it's a roguelike game or it's a roguelite game or whatever.
Right.
Whereas I feel like now there's so many that I think really have to like that can't be your pull, right? Like that can't be
Yeah, that's super true, actually.
what the game is anymore. But I mean, if one's done like really well, I still really like the roguelike and roguelite genres.
I guess it's like quite an easy project for like newer developers to get into just after like they've learnt the basics, right? Because once you set up like the
no
procedural
level
generation,
design.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like you can put your own twist on it. But as you say, because there's so many of them, like if you don't have a twist, then it's kind of like, well, you know, what
Exactly.
distinguishes it from the rest of them?
Yeah, for sure. What about you guys, Jacob?
I feel like my favorite genre, like whether it's indie or AAA, is probably just platformers because I guess it's kind of in the same like vein of like roguelikes or whatever, where you can't really get popular for or have a good platformer game without like a unique twist. But I just think they're always like, or if done right, they're like really just satisfying to play, move around. I don't know. I really like just like the simple mechanic of jumping. It's just perfect.
Of all the game
Jumping
mechanics you
simulator.
could
Not
like,
bad.
it's jumping.
Jumping.
Yeah, jumping is just so pure. Like whoever came up with it is
Yeah.
actually so cool.
Enough. Mickey?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I've been playing a lot of Metroidvanias lately, and just
Oh,
like,
I love Metroidvanias.
yeah, and I don't know, just like any platformer, it's so important to get the movement right and making sure the controls feel good. Like, I think Celeste is one of the best examples of just really good movement where, like, even if you're in a blank level, it's fun to just like jump around and handle the controls. Um,
Yeah. Yep.
but
Yeah, I
yeah,
definitely agree
like
with Celeste.
yeah, and even like
I love Celeste.
Hollow Knight, which I played too. Like the controls are being good is really important for a game like that, and I think a lot of people respond well to that. You know,
Right.
just having good
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fundamental design.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
I
Actually,
feel like it's super like hit or miss because some platformers, they're super floaty, but I think that's because it's so like such a popular genre for like game developers. But like in my free
Yeah.
time, I literally go on itch.io and I like sort by like browser games, sort by platformer. I just play so many random like platformers. I don't know what it is about platformers. They're just really fun.
Yeah, and it's really
And
interesting how like whether the game has combat or not kind of shapes how the controls work. So like for Hollow Knight,
right.
for example,
Yep.
like a lot of the movement is based around like swinging your nail around, and like that can get you more height if you jump off of something, for example. But then Celeste doesn't have any combat really, so like sort of the gameplay kind of revolves around that, and it changes based on what else there is in the game, which I find interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think what for me like what not necessarily like the genre, but like the theming is super important. Like with Celeste, for example, it's about climbing a mountain and experiencing like what it would be like to like reach the summit or whatever it is. So, using elements from real world is like it's so interesting to me. Like if you can pull out those kind of feelings, and like from something that you would actually do in real life, I think it really goes a long way to kind of like add to the gameplay. So
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
especially for like indie games, like narrative is
Yeah.
like
Yep.
really it can help you stand out from like AAA games because you can have more
Yeah.
like personal narratives about more like personal issues and things, whereas like AAA games like don't have as like it's more like filtered, I guess, and less like personal because like the developers are huge.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think having sort of soul in your game is really important for an indie game because that's sort of what distinguishes it from a AAA game, like you were saying. Like, if it's just a few people working on it, I don't know, you can really just put a lot more of yourself into it, as opposed to like at a AAA company, you're just working on maybe like one aspect of the game design, and just all these people are coming together, which is good in its own way, but it's, you know, it's hard to really put yourself into a AAA game if you're creating it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with an indie, as you said, it's so much more of your personality and kind of like you're seeing the developer's art, right? Like you're seeing that like a creation, almost. And so, especially if it's like a solo, right? Like it's like you're fully delving into the mind of that person and how they would, create a video game or something. So, yeah, I think there's always different kind of like charms to things, and I think that in general, like, I mean, even on Steam, like indie is a category. It's like a genre of video game. And I think that, yeah, there's just kind of like that different spark that is unique in having indie games, I guess. It's just a different environment, a different way of creating games. So itself, I guess, kind of that's like its own genre as well, right? Um,
Yeah.
like these small
Yeah.
studios.
I mean, the people developing the games as well, they're not under any pressure to release the games, right? So in a way, it's kind of just like a representation of their sort of vision, right? But they've not been pressured in by work or anything like that. So they can be a lot more free with like the types of games they create, which I think is why indie games have such like a broad appeal, right?
Yeah, like games can be
Yeah.
super experimental and like with like mechanics too. Like I've never really played a AAA game, at least recently, with like unique mechanics. I don't know.
Yeah.
People kind of go for the
always
same
be,
like
Mm.
stuff.
indie games that surprise people. Like, what's that game with the snake?
Snake?
Pass
no,
or something?
Not Snake.
Twitter Play Snake.
No, Snake's Pass. Snake Pass.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
game.
Snake's
That
Pass.
game is like, when you first see it, you're like, oh wow, that's such a good idea. And it's like that you wouldn't see like a huge. They kind of just like
Yeah.
aim into for whatever makes money essentially, right? And that's just been made with passion. I guess is why indie.
It's such a strange contrast because it's like I think for AAA games it's really just about that like wow factor, right? It's like how can we make the most beautiful looking thing, or like let's make this game, let's make Dark Souls but with samurais, right? And it's like
Yeah.
kind of reiterating on
Yeah.
on things that have already been successful, which makes sense. Like if you're looking at it from a business standpoint, it makes so much sense. Why would you try something that could blow up in your face and make no money when you're putting thousands and thousands of dollars into development, right? It's like
Yeah.
makes sense. I understand it. That's why it's like it's so cool that we have like smaller studios that can be experimental and can really like try new things. But yeah, that's cool, I think.
Yeah,
And
I
I
was
feel
gonna.
like sometimes it
Wait.
kind of yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna
What are you
say,
gonna say?
um, yeah, it's kind of cool how indie developers can take so much more risks than like AAA studios traditionally can, especially since I don't know, like Unity's free, Blender's free, like, and they're free like programs for like different types of art too. I just feel like everything's really, really accessible nowadays, and it's just um like you don't need to put in a ton of money anymore to make a good game.
Right.
And like even just one person could create a good game, like Stardew Valley, for example. And yeah, I just feel like that lower barrier of entry has been really good for uh the indie development scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
think
there's
so
not
too,
much
yeah.
to lose, I guess, in most cases.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people making those games aren't doing it like necessarily for financial gain, right? Obviously, some are, but if you're not doing it for financial gain and you're just doing it because you enjoy it, then you're gonna see a lot more like creative projects come out of that, rather than being at a AAA company and just having an assignment and people having to do like monotonous tasks, I guess.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
Yeah, and I feel like in a lot of cases, for like an indie game to be finished, it has to be something that the creator actually enjoys, or else they're not going to be able to, push through and finish.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So a lot of the games
Yeah.
that get released and like do well are because like there's like genuine passion, I guess, versus like like trying to chase trends or like stuff like that.
Yeah, I
Sure.
think a really good example of that is Cave Story, which was released for free at first. And I don't know, like the developer worked on that for several years, and it was just like a big passion project for him. And I
Yeah,
guess we saw
that's
how
like the purest example of that.
yeah, like it really did change the like indie development community a lot. I guess that was in like the 2000s when he released that, or like the late 90s. I can't remember, but yeah, that like people like that who just work for passion have had a huge effect on just the community in general.
What's the guy from Stardew Valley? Didn't he just like pack up shop and work on that game for like 4 years?
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's kind of
so, yeah.
insane. That's like another example of just like I guess, one person's passion going into one project.
yeah. Stardew Valley is crazy. Like, didn't that guy make all the art,
Oh yeah, he
gameplay,
did everything.
yeah,
music,
it's literally insane.
dialogue,
And on
story?
top of that, he didn't. I swear, like he didn't have much coding knowledge, and he still didn't use an engine. Like he used what was then Microsoft.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like XNA.
Oh, really?
It's now Monogame.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I've heard a lot about the
Yeah.
story though. It's an interesting story. And I mean, obviously you're gonna hear some of these like crazy success stories, right? But like every story is unique and exciting. Like those ones are just obviously crazy, from whatever it is. Like he was like, I think he was just like living with his girlfriend or something and like didn't have a job, or I don't know. Maybe that's not correct, but it was just like a very like nothing to everything kind of like success story.
yeah.
Um anyway, so circling back to like, game genres. So I guess my question for you guys is like, what would be like a really, really cool mix of genres to kind of like, create interesting
Wasn't there
gameplay
a
mechanics
game jam
maybe
theme?
we've never seen before?
Wasn't there like a game jam theme with that? I can't remember what game jam it was, but I swear like in like the last year or so there's been a game jam with that as a theme. Was it Jonas?
What, like genre mixing?
Yeah, there was like one where it was like two incompatible
That's cool.
genres. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, I kind of remember that. I forget what it is though.
I can't remember whose game jam it was.
Yeah, I remember that
I'm not
being a
too sure.
theme somewhere.
Yeah.
I remember, I think GMTK 2019 or something did like a game that's this without this, which is
Right.
kind of similar to what you're talking, but so
It's
like
gonna annoy me now. I need to find.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like taking out the core mechanic of like what makes the game and like
Yeah.
creating a new core base around it. Yeah, I think that's a really unique idea.
so like a
Like
shooting
themes for
game
game
without
jams can
shooting or
be
something.
yeah,
it
for
was,
sure.
It was Luden Dare 41.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't remember
Oh,
it
what,
being
what was the theme?
that. It was
Like, mixing genre.
Yeah, it was like combined two incompatible genres.
Oh,
Mm,
okay.
okay.
What kind of
That's-
games did they make from that? I'd be interested.
I can take a look.
Oh, that's interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I do feel like there's certain things that go more kind of like hand in hand, I guess. Like, for example, so I don't really want to disclose too much about this, but I might possibly be kind of working on some kind of side project just to kind of, my mind off of my, my main project. And I think it's healthy to kind of, work on side stuff when you have a long-term goal or whatever. And so something that I personally haven't seen too much of, not that it's, inventing the wheel here, but I was thinking, I haven't seen a lot of like indie like pixel art, specifically like platformers that delve into the genre of like horror. Um, so, I'm thinking about it and, brainstorming or whatever, but it's like, yeah, I just want to like genres that are like not seen too often, I guess, like, um, and like bring out a different side in a way. So yeah,
that's
I don't
super
know. Like, you
interesting.
guys have any other genres that kind of like maybe organically don't go well together, um, that you guys can, I guess, kind of like think about? Um,
Hmm.
Another thing
I
is,
think uh
yeah, go ahead.
okay, sorry. Yeah. I think Crypt of the Necrodancer might be a good example of that. So like combining a
True.
roguelike game with a rhythm game.
Like a rhythm game, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like you
true.
wouldn't really think it would work that well, but I mean it's a fun game. It works pretty well in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that game.
That's a great example, actually. Yeah, like really taking it out. I feel like the only rhythm games that we really know are like it's like Rock Band or Dance Dance
Our Hero.
Revolution or whatever. And like that's really cool. Of like let's expand this into like a top down, like basically like not an open world necessarily, but like a world that you can explore kind of thing, with monsters and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, that is true. That's an interesting concept. Um, it's true. Z- so game genres. I feel like there's also a lot of genres that I think just haven't really been touched on too much. Like, I haven't seen a lot of honestly like puzzle games recently. Maybe that's just because I'm not looking for it. But I think there's a lot there with like puzzle games that can combine genres with, let's say, like RPGs or something, where it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah. Sort of
Maybe
like
I'm just not looking in the right place, but I haven't seen a
are you
lot of
talking
puzzle games recently.
oh sorry. Are you talking about sort of a Legend of Zelda type thing? Like Ocarina of Time maybe?
I'm talking more like not chess, but like
Yes.
chess, but you like level up and upgrade your pieces. You know what I mean? Like it's
Oh.
like or yeah,
Interesting.
I don't know.
You should
Just
make
some kind
that.
of like puzzle or I wish. I
Chess
wish.
too.
I feel like that would be so
Okay.
impossible to make.
Yeah.
Wait, that
But
definitely exists. I'm calling it right now. The chess
chess,
RPG.
but it upgrades and you level up.
Yeah. I mean, they have
That would
like
be cool though.
RTS chess games, like where you don't take turns, you just move all your pieces at once.
Oh
True,
god.
true. That's cool. That's cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
That's
but it
cool.
is weird how like a lot of indie games kind of gravitate toward like the same like two or three genres. Like you don't always see like indie like FPS games or like I don't know. It's always like platformers, what is it like roguelites, things like that.
hmm So what do
Yeah.
you think is like a cool genre that could be expanded on in this example, like the indie space?
Yeah, good question. I feel like there are like genres that are like kind of untapped. Like you don't see a lot of like I said like first person shooters made by like indie devs or whatever. And like a lot of the first person shooters that like do exist kind of have the same, mechanics like, like or like the same
Right.
like setting and theme too, like
Yeah,
war or
like a
whatever.
3D platformer or something.
Yeah. That's a good
Right?
point. I feel like
There's definitely lots of spins you could put on like that specifically, like shooting games, I feel like.
yeah, I feel like one of the main barriers for that is like creating the assets for it. But I don't know. I think
Yep.
in the past few years we've had a lot of people releasing 3D assets for free. Like I know Bracky's had like a lot of free assets at one point. But so yeah, maybe we'll see a lot more of that. Because like you could just like take assets that someone else had made, throw them into
Yeah,
a
yeah.
scene, and then you just work on the gameplay itself.
Yeah, and then
as an indie
like you were
developer.
saying earlier, 3D engines are like super accessible now too. It's not like you're like
Mhm.
restricted to making like 2D pixel art games.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because it's like, I still get like so many people that are like, "Hey man, like, when are you gonna make a 3D game? Like, you've been making 2D games for a while. Like, I think it's time for you to like upgrade." And I just think it's so funny because it's like, at least in my eyes, it's like I don't see it at all like that. Like, I don't see it as like a one better than the other necessarily. And it's just like, yeah, it's really funny because it's like, obviously I know like I love, like I create games that I personally like would love to like enjoy and like play and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And so I've just
Yeah.
like been a huge fan of, pixel art specifically. And so like it just naturally like, 2D games just makes sense for me. I think it's so funny because it's like, yeah, it's like I think a lot of people kind of think like 3D is the upgrade from 2D. But
But yeah,
it's
that's
like
like
there's
Yeah.
just they're
in like a
they
lot of like
serve like two different purposes,
yeah, in a lot
They
of like
serve different.
mainstream gaming or whatever. Like I know like my like friends
Yeah.
and stuff, they like see like they like don't play games if they're 2D. They're like, oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
yeah.
like would
Yeah,
try out
100%.
Stardew Valley, but like the graphics. It's weird
Yeah, it's
because
like, come on, man.
yeah, I feel
What
like
am I doing?
like
Playing a NES game?
yeah, it's like
You
different
know?
like spaces
But yeah.
because like I feel like a lot of indie developers like other like indie games of that like style. Like I know I don't really play like
Right.
3D games at all. Like the kind of games I play are like Celeste, like Stardew Valley. Like I don't know, it's weird. It's like completely different like spaces.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Reese, I kind of get that too. Like are you ever gonna upgrade to 3D games? But for me, like, there are a lot of 2D games that I like the graphics and gameplay more than 3D
Right.
games. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really see it as an upgrade at all either. But yeah, like even like there are games that are just like on a 16 by 16 grid of pixels and just like really basic art. But if you do it well, like it can still look really good and like
Sure.
better than a 3D game even. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's I guess it can be considered more of a retro style like pixel art sometimes, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily something we need to throw away at any point.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
That's actually interesting because I think even just today, there's a new like, ah, there's a new Nintendo game. It's like 2D, and there's like a massive argument over whether it should, like people saying, oh, you shouldn't charge $60 for a 2D game, which is
Right.
kind of stupid because like what's the difference?
That's interesting.
Yeah, like
Yeah, that's interesting.
I guess that mindset has probably just
Yeah.
come from the fact that like 2D games, obviously you couldn't have 3D games in the days where computers were slow, right? So
Exactly.
3D games just inherently seem like an upgrade from 2D because as time progresses, we can make more powerful hardware that can run 3D games, right? And like all of these studios are releasing massive like FPS games every single year. Um, yeah, there's definitely a space for 2D games. I don't really get that mindset, but you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess
for sure.
from like a marketing perspective, I mean, like low poly 3D assets aren't like that much of a step up from pixel art sometimes, like in terms of how long it
Mhm.
takes to create them.
Oh,
So
100%.
like, yeah, if you're I guess if you're looking for more marketability and you just don't care whether it's 2D or 3D, then like low poly 3D might be the way to go.
Bro,
But
honestly,
I
it's
don't know.
so much easier. Like the only reason I make 3D games is because I'm bad at 2D art. Like 3D art, in
Mhm.
my opinion, is so much easier, especially coming from like more like programmy backgrounds because it's just maths, right? As opposed to,
Mhm.
I always put it this way: like with a 2D sprite, you have to like fake a 3D perspective in a lot of ways, whereas with 3D you can move it around and you don't have to fake anything. So I find it much easier to make 3D models than I do to make 2D assets because I'm not very good at visualizing sort of like the camera's perspective when I'm drawing pixel art, right? So I honestly
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah, that's a
easier.
really good
Yeah,
point.
I relate to that with like my art because it's like I like kind of sculpt my like 2D art. It's like shapes. I don't like, freehand anything. So that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
cool that we all like learn in different ways, right? 'Cause I for
Yeah.
one know like I can't do 3D modeling. At least like I haven't been able to like put the time in to like, learn the craft or whatever, but like even low poly, like it still takes a lot of talent to pull off. And yeah, it's cool because it's like we all kind of have
Yeah.
like our own way of creating art and stuff. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I think another thing that is difficult about making a pixel art game is that you really need to like align the pixels, which is harder than it seems. Because like in the UI, for example, you can't really scale any of the art because like
Hmm.
then the pixels will be different sizes and it'll look off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and like oftentimes with the camera, you can't zoom in like 50%. You'll either have to go like, or sorry, you can't zoom in like a little bit. You'll either have to go like twice as far out or twice as far in, and
Mhm.
otherwise the pixel alignment gets messed up. So I don't know, it's there are definitely advantages and disadvantages of both, but
Yeah, that's
yeah,
Yeah,
interesting
for
actually.
sure.
pixel art has its own challenges.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I still love 3D games. It's just like, yeah, I think that there's kind of a mutual like space for both to exist. So yeah, that's it's cool that you guys kind of I guess think the same way, like both
Yeah, I think a
have
lot of
kind
indie
Yeah.
of
developers do.
their
It's
own
there's like a hive mind of
advantages.
just people who play FPS only games, and it's more
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
people who
Yeah.
are the ones commenting on
Mm.
videos being like, why doesn't this have AAA graphics, you know?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's like gamers or whatever, like see like 3D as an upgrade to 2D. But then a lot of I feel like indie games are like made and played by other like game developers who like
Developers.
appreciate
Yeah, I
things,
agree.
who
Yeah.
appreciate different things. They have different like I guess like values in games.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's definitely a
So
disconnect between like gamers and game designers.
That's actually
And
Yeah,
kind of
right.
ironic.
yeah.
yeah, it is funny.
But
It's funny that way.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people who play games might like if there's like a really hardcore gamer, they'll probably start to get the idea that they like know how games should be designed and like how the graphics should look and how this and that should be. But I don't know if that's necessarily true until you like try and pick up game development yourself.
Right.
yeah,
Definitely there's a deeper appreciation, at least for me. Like as I said at the beginning of the episode, like I almost religiously just like play indie games. And it just kind of happened that way because I do it for kind of like inspiration. Like I don't really play video games anymore to like have fun. I more do it to like again appreciate like what other people are doing and like get inspired from myself. And so yeah, it's just really cool because it's like different mindset when you're in something like this, right? Than
yeah.
just
I
kind
feel
of
like in a
somebody
lot
picking
of
it up for fun.
cases, like indie game developers are making games for like other indie game developers.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Like I've never thought about that before. But I mean, I see a lot of truth in that for sure. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's part
All
of the
of
problem.
course.
Like,
But
I don't know if you guys or like when I look at my Twitter followers, like a lot of them are other indie developers, and you just kind
Yeah,
of wonder, like,
exactly.
like you kind of wonder what you're doing. Like, am I doing this stuff on Twitter to market, or am I just kind of like showing other people what I'm doing? And like, if I am
right.
trying to market, should I be trying to reach like gamers instead of designers? Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's kind of interesting.
It's like the
That's
same when
funny.
people like post on like Reddit, like subreddits like r/game dev. Like they're posting
Yeah,
like stuff of their game advertising, but the only people who are like seeing it are like other game developers. And it seems like a lot of like uh indie advertising just goes to other developers.
yeah. I mean, indie developers do play games, but I don't know. You just kind of wonder if it's like if an indie developer is as likely to buy a game as like a gamer being shown the same thing.
Right.
I'd be curious about
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I think the majority, not all, but I think the majority of game developers would technically be gamers, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
there's definitely still an audience there. Like,
Yeah.
no matter
Mhm.
who you're targeting, you're never gonna get a high conversion rate, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know that 90% of my audience is never gonna play the games that I make on my YouTube channel or whatever it is. And that's just, down to like numbers and analytics and sheer just like amounts of people. It's hard to capture everybody's attention and everybody's eyes, and especially everybody's like finances, when you're actually trying to get people to buy something or whatever. But yeah, so I don't think, like what you were saying earlier with like the Twitter thing, it's like you're definitely still reaching a good audience, I think, because again, we're playing to get inspired and to stay motivated. I'm sure 90% of people that got into indie development in the first place did it because they enjoyed playing video games, right? And they wanted to make their own. So there's definitely still a market there, I think. But it
Yeah.
is an interesting claim, I never really thought about it like that. Just kind of marketing to other people that are trying to do the same thing that you are.
Yeah, that's a
So
good point.
that's cool.
Yeah, I guess like also like when I'm making videos or like things on Twitter, for example, um, I think it's really easy to sort of focus on like the likes and the views and everything. And it's like at some point you're just wondering like, okay, I'm doing this for myself, right? But how much of this is
Mhm.
like me wanting to show other people? And also how much of it is just
Yeah.
me wanting to like see a higher view count. So like it's kind of weird trying to balance all that because like making something for yourself versus making something to show other people versus like trying to get views is like kind of a
Yeah, it's
different like experience in my
a
Yeah.
opinion.
horrible experience.
No, that's how I feel when I'm making videos too. I always ask myself like, am I making this for like my viewers, for like my like purpose of my channel, or am I making this for the algorithm or whatever?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
don't know,
fine
kinda-
line. It's a weird line.
Yeah.
that but at the end of the day, I think a lot of us are trying to like, I know for myself, like, this is what I'm trying to do to support a family, right? So it's like sometimes it's okay to like think about things in a like numbers type of deal, or from a business standpoint, as long as there's still some kind of passion there, right? Like I still love my job. Um, Even if I have really long weeks or whatever it is, it's like at the end of the day, like I do still love what I do, even when it does get stressful or numbers go down or views are down. Um, but it's like there's still that passion there. That's why I would never want to like, trade that. I think we talked about this on a previous episode, but like you know, I think somebody asked us. I think this was a question in one of our podcasts, but like somebody asked us like, would you go to a AAA studio or would you want to go indie? It's like I think I'm always gonna want to stay indie because it's like I just like the idea of just like being able to be free and like do whatever I want to do. Um, so I'm like, there's still definitely that passion there. It's not just a money game. Um, so I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Like,
I honestly never understood what the appeal was in like working at like a AAA studio, because it's not like game development is like the most like profitable thing to go into. So when you have no control
Right.
over what you're making, or like
Yeah.
little control over your vision, like at that point, like what's the point? I don't know.
I always say, like, can you imagine being the developer that worked on like the dialogue system for like a game like Skyrim? Can you imagine how boring
Right.
that would be?
Yeah, I don't understand
Yeah,
the point.
that's
Like at
tough.
that point, like why?
That's
I don't
tough.
know.
Yeah, like, and also it's somebody else's like vision that you're creating. Like, you have the whole fun of game development isn't like, in my opinion, the programming or the art or anything like that. It's more like the design process, being able to do
Yeah, it's like
everything.
creating something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I don't know.
I would never want to really work at like a AAA studio. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't really see the point when you could like just go into like software or whatever if you're not like.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's
maybe
more
if you're working
profitable
for like a smaller
industries.
studio, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely like a like kind of like an incentive for sure. Like, I mean, before I even knew that video game development was a job, like growing up, like I didn't weren't really any programs available. Game dev wasn't really a thing. So for me, like I would always kind of think like, hey, like it would be so cool to like work on a Nintendo game because that's
Yeah,
what I grew
sure.
up on. And so there's definitely a lot of weight there with like this is a part of you. So like it would be really cool to kind of like be a part of this thing that
Yeah,
maybe, changed your life or whatever, made you who you are. And that's an extreme example, but it's like those kind of things where it's like I just want to be a part of this. But I think for like longevity, like I think that you kind of get accustomed to it. Like even if I were to work for, my biggest idol in the world, eventually, you kind of you adapt,
yeah,
and it's kind of just like, okay, this is my circumstance now. So for me personally, feel like I might get bored. I couldn't just use that initial incentive of like, let me work for this company that I value and appreciate so much. But everyone's different, right? Everyone's wired differently. And maybe we are all quite similar because we are kind of all doing the same thing and going down a very similar path. But
hmm
I'm sure there's many people out there watching or listening and they think different, and that's completely okay, right? That's completely fine.
yeah.
But
I guess it could also be like a means to an end where like working in the industry gives you like experiences and then you can use that if you ever do want to start your own like game studio or whatever. Like it's probably like
true.
you probably learn valuable things working in like triple A that you wouldn't otherwise.
Sure. What about Mickey? I think Mickey's the
Um,
only one that didn't touch on this, but
yeah.
AAA, indie, kind of the above.
I'm actually doing an internship at a sort of an indie studio in September. So I guess I'll let you guys know how that is. Sort of like it's not like a AAA studio by any means, but it's
Mm,
more of like a game design company, like a company that
Right.
develops games. Um,
Yeah.
so for me, um, yeah, I think it definitely is more enjoyable to just like make your own game on your own or with a little team. Um, and then like when I think about what I want to do as a profession, like I still don't really kind of know how different it'll be working at like a generic software company versus a game development company. So I guess that'll be like a good thing to see at this internship. But yeah, I think there are definitely differences and there are like different advantages. But I don't know. I guess I'll have to see before I can say for sure.
yeah.
So if for the people listening, Mickey next program, he's developing a game, The Keeper, and it's a little pixel art indie game, survival. I don't think I'm explaining this to the best that it is,
No, you're
but
good.
anyway. So let's say release a game, however long that is, 4 months, 6 months, 2 years. Release a game and it makes, I mean, not a ton of money. You're not the next Stardew Valley, but you make $500,000 or something. Like, would you go down that route to like, let me continue making games, even if they're not as profitable as this one, or there's still uncertainty there, or whatever it is. But like, that's something you would want to do, or is this just hobbies? Like, sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. If I were able to make like a lot of money from game development, I would I would be really happy doing that as a full-time job. Um, just like making videos and like releasing new games every once in a while. And
Hmm.
I think there are a lot of advantages of that. Like you don't really need to work under someone and like you can choose your own hours obviously. Um I guess like the main disadvantage would be it's not the most stable thing. So like I think you're
Right.
constantly having to worry about your popularity and like your views and your subscribers because that's like your income, right?
Hmm.
Um So that would be probably
Fans
the
are your
only
boss.
disadvantage I think of. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I think it would be fun though.
I think if you can put yourself in a position where you're not like relying on just game sales, like if you
Mm.
like sell courses or have like a YouTube channel, like then it probably does become more enjoyable, less stressful because you don't really have to worry about the outcome of what you're making. You can just make things like
Yeah,
for
true.
fun, I guess.
Sure.
And then
Yep.
yeah, I think that's a pretty good position that I would want to be in.
Yeah.
All
There's always a
right,
balance.
guys, I've got
There's a
one
balance.
last question to end off the podcast. All
Let's
right,
hear it.
let's
Okay.
say you get given like $1 million, tax free. And it's just given to you, right? So you can start working on a game. What's the game you make? What's like your absolute dream game?
Is this like right this second, or is this
Yeah,
like
like
5
right
years
now
down the
you get
line?
transferred 1 million tax free. What are you making?
Oh man.
That's a good question.
What's
I'm
like
tempted.
the time limit on there? Is there no time limit
I mean,
either?
you've got the
I
$1
can
million.
just
You can do what you want.
Yeah, you're a millionaire, bro.
Until the million runs out, you starve to
Oh,
death on the
man.
streets, I guess.
All right.
Honestly, I feel like you can go first, Jacob.
Okay, yeah, because I have it. I've been having this my whole life. I want to make it like a user generated content game, like something like Mario Maker, something like even like
Mm.
Roblox, but something that could also like teach like programming. I don't know. That's like my dream game. I want to make something that is like not like educational in like a bad way, but like something that has like basically like something with a creative community. Whether it's like a Mario Maker clone, it probably wouldn't be that good. It'd probably be like a copy of like something that already exists. But that's like my dream idea.
That I like that. I really like that actually. And I was gonna go for a similar-ish approach. And honestly, like I don't even really play. I haven't played Minecraft in I don't even know how long, like 7, 8 years. But if I had let's say 10 years, you budget out 100 grand a year or something, and you work on this game for 10 years. I feel like honestly, I would want to make something kind of similar to Minecraft, like some kind of open like sandbox experience where you can just kind of explore and create what you want to create. So in kind of what Jacob was saying, like, having that creative like expression, I guess, like making a game that doesn't give you a set strict this is what you do or this is how you're supposed to play. Like I would want to expand on that like survival kind of mechanic uh in even more depth than something you see in like Minecraft, where it's like literally like anything goes, and like yeah, there's no real like limits, I guess. As far as art goes though, like honestly, I really like still love just like really like indie looking games. Like 3D like voxel art and stuff like that, I think is a super cool style. Like I think if I could pay like a professional voxel artist, make like a voxel survival sandbox open world.
Like a cube world kind
Yeah, like cube
Yeah,
world,
that
but like
kind of thing.
more about like physics, like like experimenting with the world and how like
Right.
objects and stuff can interact with each other to just create whatever experience you want it
like
to
Yeah.
be.
a G mod mixed with like cube world.
Yeah, yeah, basically. I think that'd be cool. Somebody just send me the $1 million and we'll see what happens.
All right, I got you.
All right. I guess going on from physics, my like absolute dream game, right? Hear me out. You guys ever play Mario Kart Wii?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, did you ever play like the online mode?
Yes.
Yep.
In the online mode, they had like this rating system, right? Where
Yeah.
if you're in like the top half, you would get like points, and then if you're in the bottom half of like the race, you would get like lose points, and then you would go against like similar points to you, I guess, in the races, right? That type of
Yeah.
system, I think, works really well for like a racing game, right? So you take that, okay, and you bundle it with like a car builder. Hear me out, right? So like, like you can you've got like an arsenal, kind of like Kerbal Space Program, of just like different car parts, like suspension, wheels, and stuff like that. And you can like build your own car in a way. Okay, and obviously you could build something absolutely terrible, and the moment you take it out, it just like collapses, right? That would be like a learning experience, and you would sort of build up this like meta, or like the community would build up like a meta of the best cars, and like you'd have to constantly
Yeah.
like kind of like an online competitive arcadey racer, right? I don't feel like there's much stuff like that kind of on PC.
I think that sounds really cool. I
Yeah,
think someone's gonna
that's-
steal that idea though.
That's cool how all of
That's
our
fine.
ideas are centered around like user creativity, like kind of like a
Yeah,
sandbox.
user. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Nikki, what about you?
I guess mine would be a little different. I would probably want to make something like Breath of the Wild, so like an open world adventure game where you can kind of just go around and like there are a lot of different options of what you want to do. And I think the main problem would be kind of keeping it centered and not just having like a billion different like possible things to do that the player gets too overwhelmed. But like I don't know, I guess if you have the option to like farm or like hunt or like go after the main quest, just things like that where you just have a lot of opportunities to do different things. That's
Yeah.
something I'd be interested in.
Yeah, with like an overarching principle, right?
Yeah.
I think Breath of
Exactly.
the Wild did a great job of that actually, because it's like there are a lot of story elements, but it's kind of like you can tackle it in any order, and you know you're picking up story piece by piece, but then ultimately like there's it's like ending like kind of like I guess level or whatever, or, you know the objective is to fight Ganon. So there's still like you can do whatever you want in this world, but at the end of the day, it's still like experience that's kind of enclosed under a certain objective, to like build up the strength to fight this like final battle. But yeah, I think that's cool. Like I think they did it in a good way. Sure. To finish
Yeah.
that game.
Definitely.
Cool. I guess
Yes.
I guess we'll leave it there then.
That was solid, guys.
Solid.
Yeah.
Thanks,
That was
Nikki,
really
for,
cool.
for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Hopefully, it won't be 3 months until the next episode.
Yeah, literally. Sorry about that, guys. A lot of people have been asking us about DevDump, and
just know
we had to
you
shelve
just
it for a
have to
little
blame
bit. But
Goodgis. That's all
Yeah.
you need to know.
exactly, that's all you got to do is just blame Goodgis. That's all we have to do.
He just doesn't care about us.
Yeah. In all seriousness, we will be doing this more frequently. Life got a little bit busy for all of us, literally all of us. So we're gonna try to make it a little bit more manageable in the future, but we're just gonna kind of keep it up in the air. No strict deadlines. So we'll see you guys when we see you. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode with our special guest, Nikki from Next Program.
Go subscribe.
To me.
All links in the description. Thanks, guys.
See you in the next one.
Oi.
We're not keeping that.
We are.